What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Importance Flashback Reviews, where we take movies from my past, maybe your past, and break them down. As always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Comment below, email nlapola1138@gmail.com. So, we are in the middle of Christmas after Thanksgiving, so basically Christmas has begun. It's the first week of December, so instead of doing Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation, they will come, I promise. I wanted to do a movie that is set Christmas time, also New Year's Eve or New Year's time, and so on and so forth. And that movie's Trading Places, a very well known, very famous comedy. Stars Eddie Murphy, stars Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, has Ralph Bellamy, Don Ameche, Paul Gleason, all these people, Denholm Elliott. So the reason I wanted to talk about this movie first because this is one of my favorite comedies of all time. This movie is hilarious in all aspects. You have Eddie Murphy, who in the 80s could not be stopped, could not be contained. He was outrageous. He was raunchy. He was dirty. At some point, he fell off the cliff, but this is peak Eddie Murphy. And then you got Dan Aykroyd, who is peak Dan Aykroyd. You know, he's done like Spies Like Us and Ghostbusters. And you get these two together, and even though they're like complete opposites of each other, they work so well. They have such great chemistry that when the roles are reversed, because it's called Trading Places, so the roles are switched, they just like it's just the level of them going back and forth is amazing. And the basic story, if you haven't seen it before, is Dan Aykroyd plays this uppity, rich. He plays very successful businessman who works for the Duke brothers, and they sell stocks and they trade and sell and all that good, all that good stuff. One day, while going to the club that they attend, Eddie Murphy's character pops up and he accidentally runs into Dan Aykroyd's character, and he is sent to jail. Eddie Murphy's sent to jail. Well, the Dukes, who are very disgusting human beings, they're nasty, they're just terrible human beings, but they're great in the movie because that's Ralph Bellamy and Dan Amici or Don Amici. They're great character actors. They make a bet. They said, we can take Eddie Murphy, or one of them makes a bet that we can take Eddie Murphy and we can switch him with Dan Aykroyd, and they will do exactly what the opposite will do, which is basically Dan Aykroyd will become this low life, in trouble with the law, and then Eddie Murphy will turn into a respectable businessman. And Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy goes for that, and Don Amici goes for the opposite. He's like, never gonna happen. And they bet one single dollar to do this. So they're gonna ruin two lives for one single dollar because they're so rich that they don't care about money. There's this funny scene where it's not really funny, it's kind of messed up, where the butler is they gives the drinks to the Duke brothers, and they give him a $5 tip, and the guy's like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll go to the movies by myself," which is really messed up if you think about it. But that's the kind of movie we're dealing with. So the two switch, and the exact effect takes place. Dan Aykroyd becomes a low life. Eddie Murphy becomes wealthy, and he becomes like smart. He's a smart guy, so he has effective ways of doing things. And then eventually they meet Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays a hooker, and she kind of falls for Dan Aykroyd's character. She helps him out because she doesn't really believe him, but she sees something in him, and it plays out like that. Everything comes to a head at the end when there's a talk of the frozen orange juice market, which is a very big commodity trade in the trade market stocks in New York. And they find out that the Dukes are going to corner the market. Basically, they're going to make a lot of money by corrupting the market, trying to get, orange juice. I think it was like the sell or something like that. But this movie it has a lot of fun with its premise. It's not always the most PC, which is fine because it's the 80s, but everybody's on their A game. This is a comedy that takes so much insane notion of just business world and the world of being just poor, and it just does so much with it. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, this is her coming out party. Right after this, she would go on to do Fish Called Wanda, but she's so good in this movie. She's so good as that woman who lives on the street, who wants to make a name for herself, who wants to get off the street and just eventually have a nice life. And she is going to get that help through Dan Aykroyd. But to see Dan Aykroyd's world just collapse on him, his girlfriend leaves him, he loses everything. His butler, who's played by Denholm Elliott, which is great at character acting, who was in the Indiana Jones movies, he he tumbles, he becomes like, he turns into a he dresses as Santa for the Christmas party, and he steals a bunch of food off the table, which is really funny. And then he basically just falls into this thievery of this disgustingness, and he tries to frame Eddie Murphy with all these drugs because he doesn't know what's going on. And then at some point, Eddie Murphy hears the two dukes in the bathroom, just kind of explain the situation, and then they plot against them, and then they do a like a Woodward and Bernstein moment where they take what is being illegally documented of what the orange juice market is going to be, and they take the papers from the character played by Paul Gleason, who's kind of like the cover up man. He's kind of like the guy that they hire to pull the strings behind him. The Dukes do, and they basically turn everything around on the Dukes, and the Dukes end up losing everything. And it comes back to playing Coming to America, which is really funny if you watch that movie. But yeah, just the movie's just a lot of fun. It's a great Christmas movie. It's also a great, New Year's Eve movie. Jim Belushi pops up. Um, and then you have, like I said, Paul Gleason's really fun in the movie, and they're just doing a great job of what they need to do. Like there's a scene on the train where they all dress in these costumes and they dress up as characters, and it's probably one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen, because my favorite scene, and one of the things I say every year, is Happy New Year, and it's the thing that Eddie Murphy says, and then you have probably one of the most offensive things in the movie, which is Dan Aykroyd in blackface, and then you have Jamie Lee Curtis as she's like a hitchhiker Swedish woman, and it's just there's so much good stuff in there. There's like a fake monkey that falls in love with Paul Gleason's character, and just the setting. It takes place in New York, and it's very 80s, and it's very dirty, but it has so much heart going for it and so much fun. And I remiss to mention that John Landis directed this, because he is a director I'm so on the fence with, not because of his directing talent, but because of some of the stuff that he pulled and some of the stuff he did. But I have to give him some credit, because he was that type of director like John Hughes that knew how to get good stuff out of his actors, and they liked working with him. You saw in the Blues Brothers, you saw in American Werewolf in London, and it's just this movie just has a lot going for it. And it has a lot of emotion, a lot of entertainment value. You can't have anything better than that. That's why it's one of my favorite comedies, if not my favorite comedy of all time, maybe outside of Ghostbusters or something like that. But yeah. So there you go. That's gonna be my take on Trading Places. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you like about this movie if you've seen it. If not, please see it, because it's definitely worth seeing. With that, go ahead and subscribe, rate, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email nlapolo113@gmail.com. So with that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Pork bellies, which is used to make bacon, which you might find in a bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwich.